Well, I thought that was never going to start then. Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome to A Better Way of Life. Happy Friday to all of you listening as this goes out. And if you're catching up on the Spotify or any of those other things, happy whatever day of the week it is. It's me, Graham Cofer, and this is Marianne Mills. Hello. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Yes, I'm currently listening to a rock concert in my conservatory.
Oh,
The band, my son's band, have come over to practice, but it appears to have gone on all day. They are very good, and they've had a
yeah.
photo shoot this weekend, and they've got gigs booked. So.
And you were telling me earlier today as well that your son has over the weekend he's picked up some work coaching someone with drumming, and that all went very well as well.
Yeah, an adult, and he had a child. He's got some others booked in. He's only just 16, and
Amazing.
I suggested he taught me, and I'm terrible. And so we had his first adult the weekend, and she wants 2 hours a week with him.
There you go. There you go. Now we're going to keep it on music theme today. We're going to talk about not just music, but life within music as well. And we're going to talk about empowerment, what music can do for you, and all of those sort of wonderful things. As we are joined by our special guest, B. Charlotte. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Oh, somebody's getting a call. Let me in. Right. Now, how the devil are you? It's been a while since I've seen you, but I think last thing we did was with Lyra live on Instagram.
Yeah.
And that was a nice little catch up. We had several bands. But
Great.
this has been a great week for you, a special week for you, because you've launched your debut album.
Yeah, a bit of a mad week, a bit surreal. It still doesn't feel real, I guess. I think that with any big milestone or big moment that you have in life or that you work towards, and then when it actually happens and it's happened, you're like, all right, I'm still sort of. So I think, yeah, in a month's time or something, I'll be like, whoa, that actually happened. But it's been really lovely. It's been, in all honesty, I just feel a huge relief that the album's is finally out and people can hear it now as well. So yeah, it's been good.
How much has that? Oh, by the way, say hello to Marianne. You've never met before. So there we go. How much of that is down to when you're thinking about releasing an album, etc., your first album? For you, how much of it was really down to making sure you got the best partners on board in terms of that, and making sure that they could deliver exactly what you wanted them to deliver? Was that really fundamentally important part of that?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's always a big part. And then for this album in particular, I knew that I wanted to approach it in a different way than I had before. So previously with my music, a lot of times I would be in lots of different songwriting sessions with lots of different people and worked with some amazing producers and writers and collaborators. And then I would just sort of see what songs I liked best out of those sessions, release it, and then on to the next. And it sort of was just a little bit like that. Whereas with this album, I always wanted it to be written. I wrote all the songs just myself as well, not in any sessions, but I also wanted it to be coherent in terms of the team around it as well. Like you say, the sort of collaborators in that. So I worked with Scotty Anderson and Kieran McEnany, who are two guys that had both previously been in variations of my band over the years. So people that I knew well and trusted and extremely talented as well, of course. So it was really great to work with them on that. So I'd write all the tunes, mostly on guitar. Then I did a wee demo at home myself, and then I'd go in the studio with them, and they would make it all sound fabulous and add lots of bits in. So it was a real, real collaborative experience with those guys as well.
Now, Marianne is a trainer. She trains people how to train, which is that's like that's the top level of training, right? Now, I know that you're really keen as well. As you may have heard from the first bit, her son at 16, is now already training other people on how to play drums, which is great.
Amazing.
Making a little bit of money. But how important is it for you to be involved in that process of teaching other people that come behind you what you've learned, etc. I know you love to mentor yourself, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just such an important part, and it always has been for me. Even when I was starting out and I was, I don't know, 16, 17, 18 as a musician, like I was still always really conscious of making opportunities or helping other young emerging artists too. And then that's something that just continued all throughout, I guess, working in the music industry. And then I put that all that energy, I guess, into starting my own independent record label as well. So that's been a really good, I guess, outlet for being able to help other artists as well. And that's something, yeah, I really enjoy doing.
I love hearing that, because you hear so often that people make it, and that's great. You just see the difference between people. I always talk about it at training, people that want to show off what they do and people that want to share what they do. And I just think it's really wonderful that actually often people that want to share what they do actually end up shining as well.
Yeah, I think because sometimes I felt it a lot in the beginning, where it would be like, I don't know, you would come across some people who would, it was all very competitive, and I didn't like that. Like I never believed, it's like, but there's millions of songs every day. There's more than enough room for everybody. And I think I've always tried to maintain that mindset. That's what I truly believe. And I think by me spending time working with another artist or whatever doesn't take away from, like what you say, doesn't take away from my own stuff, what I do as well. But yeah, I think that's always important. And I think as well, I always like to try and be as transparent as possible with the process, because a lot of times you can kind of just think, well, how did you go from writing songs in your bedroom when you're 13 to then, oh, now you've released a debut album, or you signed to a record deal, or like what happens in between? And I feel like a lot of times that bit's just all a bit blurry.
That's the bit I think that people, I mean, I don't know, I haven't got a musical bone in my body. I love dancing, but that's as far as it goes musical wise. I look at my son and I think, gosh, he struggled at school, and he's neurodiverse, and music for him, drumming, he's taught himself the guitar as well. And watching him through this whole process, and he called me last night, he said, "Oh, Mummy, quick." And I had to sit and listen, and he'd done a remix of something like that, and he played it. And for me, I just felt really, really proud as well, that, like you say, for me, as somebody that's going to listen to someone's music or actually buy in on anything, it doesn't matter what it is, if I actually know the story behind it, makes it that much more. I think for me it would make me want to, I'm buying in to that person as well. So knowing that you haven't had somebody, not that it would be wrong, but if somebody you've been able to pay your way,
exactly,
it just knowing that what you've gone through, you just that much more appreciative of it. I think it's great.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And I think for a long time I've always put all of that into songs and then release the songs and kind of think the songs do that job, but then I kind of quite quickly realised, no, they don't. You need to obviously all have the backstory and the sort of, I guess, the journey around that.
They know that, don't they? I think particularly in a world of AI and where you don't know what's real and what's not real. I have to say now, I got a I don't know if I can say the name of it, so I'm not going to. One of those devices that you have that's got a screen on it, and it tells words when it plays it. So a lot of the time the words are not what I thought they were, but actually it's made me really appreciative. And then I'll often go and look up where that song came from or what the backstory was. And I'm like, oh wow. So then I really want to listen more then. So I think it's ever more important for you to say what that story is. So I was listening to some of yours and I was wondering. So now have a look into that.
Wondering where they came from. Where did the stories on this album come from, Charlotte?
A real mixture, really, to be honest. But as I said, I've always written songs about my life, things that are going on, things I've been feeling or whatever, and that's something I've always carried on doing. But with these songs, it's a real mixture. Like there's a lot of, I wanted to sort of, I guess, capture the whole range of emotions that we feel and we go through and all of that. And so there's songs that do try and celebrate the good moments, the good things, because also it can be really difficult to sometimes write a song about something that's good. It's sort of, I guess, I don't know, a well-known thing that it's easier to write sad songs for whatever reason. And I think I was really trying to push myself out of my comfort zone with quite a few of these songs to write something that celebrated the more positive moments. But then, of course, there's a lot of songs about, I guess, identity and empowerment and loss as well. And I wrote most of these songs in 2020, actually, which was obviously such a bizarre year for the whole world. But I think I also experienced a lot of loss personally that year as well, and that definitely changed or shaped who I was in a different way as well alongside the pandemic happening. So yeah, a lot of the songs were actually written during that time where I would have days feeling totally great and then days feeling totally awful. So I think the album sort of sums up that the highs and the lows of that as well. And then I've always, when it's been songs that have been about something particularly sad or particularly difficult, I always like to try and dress up the production in a way that makes it a bit so you can move to it or dance to it. And for me, that can change something really negative into something positive. But then, of course, a couple of songs on the album I wanted to keep just as raw and authentic as possible as well.
It's interesting you say that, because I don't like sad music, per se. And was it Brighter Without You? I listened to that one, but I quite liked the beats to it. So it's funny because if there is, like you said, it can be that little bit upbeat, that will make me want to listen, and then I want to hear the word. Then now I can read the words.
Yeah.
And then I buy into it. Then.
Yeah, not every sad song has to be The Cure, does it? I mean, it's it kind of feels like that sometimes. Like the only way to do a real sad song is kind of really deep, dark, go into it kind of thing. But I think if you can make something that's difficult more approachable, then actually that's a really good way to go. But it's hard. The hard thing is, especially you mentioned, like from a musical point of view, it's hard to write a joyful tune and it not edge over into cheesy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really hard to do, isn't it?
Yeah, really tricky. Yeah, and I think that was something. One song in particular on the album called "Good Times," that was something I was really at the forefront of my mind with that song. But then at the end of the day, I was just like, well, that's just sort of where that song came from, and that's what it was born out of, and trying to celebrate and appreciate the good moments. And I think as well, for me, probably pre-pandemic, pre-2020, I was just so tunnel vision, career or music focused, and I would very rarely be able to, I don't know, sort of have a good balance going on in my life. But then since those past few years, and in the past few years, I've really tried to make as much time for the other stuff that makes you who you are, like spending time with friends, family, and all of that stuff. And I think sometimes when you get a bit tunnel vision, or you get a bit stuck in a cycle, you can't see.
Are you quite pleased that you didn't release an album before this, that this has been the right sort of time to release the first album?
Yeah, I think so. I was obviously signed to Sony previously, and I did get an EP released with them, and that was a really great achievement. And that those collection of songs kind of came at the same time, and all that stuff. So that felt right. And then once I stopped working with them, I didn't instantly go, right, I'm gonna make an album, and I don't know, sort of prove anybody wrong, but it kind of just naturally started happening, and I just felt I when I was signed out, I lived out in Berlin for a couple of years, but then pandemic times came back to Scotland, so I just sort of naturally, I guess, found my groove and found my love for songwriting again, and that's where it all blossomed out, really. The songs kind of led it. I wrote a few of the songs, and I thought, right, I'm sort of making an EP here. And then I just kept writing, and it's like, oh, I think this is it. I think this is the album forming and making itself known.
That the people that have done the artwork and everything else, who was involved in that? Could just show people here, by the way, in case you're wondering. There we are. There's the album, Self-Help and Fictional Doubts. There we go. Oh, and in a lovely purpley,
Oh yeah,
lilac-y coloured vinyl as well, which is. Oh, you went to see that, didn't you? You went to see that process happening as well.
yeah. So there's a brand new pressing plant in Scotland called Seabass, and they pressed the vinyl. So we got to go and have a look and watch them actually make it, which was just incredible. I didn't really know what to expect, but it was way better than what I expected to see that whole process, and it was really amazing, really special moment as well. And I think the songs, are mostly all written in Scotland, and it was recorded, produced in Scotland, and then vinyls pressed in Scotland. It just felt very, very apt. And the Asai Records, who I've been working with to release the physical versions as well, they're a homegrown record store as well. So it just felt like the total right fit.
Yeah.
And in terms of the artwork, actually, I've had this album recorded for a good couple of years, to be honest. So I've been like mood boarding for a while on what I wanted, and I kind of I had a good sort of idea of what I wanted to try and achieve. So I worked with a photographer in Scotland called Tom Gibson, and he's a brilliant young photographer. And I showed him my mood boards, and we kind of came up with a few things. And then we just went and shot that in the Botanic Gardens in Dundee, actually, where I'm from in Dundee. It's a real photo. It's a real plastic sheet cut out, and that was that really. And it came together. The vision I had in my head, we managed to recreate. And all the singles that I released in the lead up to the album, they all had handwritten text as the titles. So that was something that I wanted to continue the theme on. And I worked with the guys at Asai Records as well to sort of pull the whole finished design together. So I was really, I don't feel like it's very often sometimes when you've got something in your head that then you see it in real life, it comes to fruition. So I was really chuffed to make that work.
Do you think you'll stay in Scotland forever? Do you think Scotland's your forever home? I heard that Fish, Fish from Marillion, or he used to sing with Marillion many years ago. You might not remember Marillion, right?
I don't know.
Oh, there you go. 1986, a massive hit, or 85, 86, massive hit with Kaylee. You remember the song Kaylee?
Right, I'm sure I remember the song.
Yeah, of course. Right, yeah. Well, he's literally just retired, apparently, from the music industry. He's selling up his place in Scotland, which has got a massive studio and everything. So he's put that on the market. He's going to go and live as a crofter in the Outer Hebrides. What a wonderful way to leave it all behind. But
definitely.
So anybody that wants a place, there you go, with a studio up in Scotland, or wants to buy Charlotte that place so she can go and record.
Exactly. Go for it.
Other albums. But do you feel like you'll always gravitate back towards Scotland?
I think right now that's how I feel. I think living away from Scotland really. I loved living away, and I'm so glad to have had that experience of living in a different country, and I'm so grateful to have been able to do that through making music. That it's just it blows my mind. But being away definitely made me realise that I wanted to be at home and feel like I was at home. I think for a while I maybe felt like I didn't know where my home was. So then coming back to Dundee and back to Scotland has just felt right. I don't think these songs, this album would have happened if I hadn't have done that. So I think, right now it feels like where I want to be. But who knows? Never say never. I'm always up for the next adventure. So
can I ask you, when you because I don't know if I've spoken to Graham about this before, obviously known about music with him. I don't know if it's the same. I'm not an artist, but I do write things in terms of courses and stuff. Do you find that based on what you were saying there, that where you are and your surroundings makes a difference? So I know for me, if things don't feel right, I will struggle to produce things, or I might get onto a roll with something, which is where my ADHD helps, and then I have to go out and do training for 2 weeks, and then I come back to it and I think, and it takes me a couple of Graham knows it takes me a while to kind of get my head, which probably sounds odd because it's not, wouldn't be seen as creative like you do, but I still have to try and make it flow, and I sort of get a bit of a writer's block sometimes.
No, I totally get that, and I think I'm the same as well. I think I'm not I'm not, I guess, type of person that's writing songs every single day. Yes, I'm being creative every day, probably in most ways, whether that be making videos or content and all of that stuff. But for a while, I would be quite hard on myself because I would see other people that were writing songs every single day, and I would think, oh, well, I'm not doing that, so I must be rubbish, or I mustn't be very good at that. But then I realised what works for me best is I will write like a lot of songs within, say, a 2-3 month period, and then I won't write any songs for a few months, and then it sort of goes like that. And I guess it's just different for each person, and I think once I sort of accepted that, I was able to be more creative. And I think sometimes when we've got that, like the more pressure we put on ourselves, then it just nothing happens, nothing comes out.
I think as well, when you do a lot of, again, much the same as with you, but different, that people only see the end product, so they don't see everything that went before. So people quite often say to me, "You're not working." And I go, "Well, yeah, I am, but I am at home." And then I think, like, I'll go out and do something, and I think, "Oh, I feel really bad now because I'm out." And I'm like, "Yeah, but that's because I'm choosing to do it this way." Even sometimes with Graham, when Graham and I first started working together, I feel like I was going to have to justify to him why I wasn't sat on my desk doing my work. But
I think that's a really important point, and it's so vital as well, though, is that in today's society, we almost make people feel guilty for just taking time, right? But that time is so important. I mean, you must know that as a creative yourself, Charlotte. Sometimes you just need to go out and experience things in life so that you can then write about this stuff. You must just take time to just listen back to what you've done and give it time to incubate, and before you make a snap decision on it. That time, it's almost like, especially with putting out music, so many artists that I speak to, it's almost like it's got to be the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. They're on such a treadmill that you wonder sometimes whether the quality of it's going to dive because they're just not taking the time to.
People just almost end up being a bit done with it, sort of almost falling out of love with it as well, because I know for me, if I have too much of a gap with delivering, I sort of think, oh, I miss it. And again, you know what it's like for me. And then when I go back out again, I think, oh yeah, I love this. I couldn't do it all the time because it is quite exhausting. Because it is the same as what you do. It is.
Yeah, definitely. No, I totally agree. And I think, like what I was saying before is I would be in a songwriting session every day with different people, and that was a great experience to have. But then I sort of, like what you say, sort of fell out of love with songwriting a wee bit because it just turned into this process of, no, we need to write this song that then the record label goes, this is going to be the biggest hit in the world. So then you're just constantly chasing that rather than just writing songs about what you want to write songs about or because you love doing it.
That pressure then, I've just been writing something, well, fairly big, I suppose it is. In my world, it's big. And it's really weird because I think, Graham, you noticed my mood was different earlier. I let myself have the weekend off. And actually, even sometimes, although I wasn't doing the work for it, I felt like I couldn't get my head out of my head with it.
Yeah, totally.
I've handed it over to Graham now to do his magic on some of it. It'll come back to me and I've got to do a little bit. I literally feel like I can skip around the place and get on with my life doing other stuff now, because
it's
I don't know if it's what you said.
Yeah.
enjoyment goes out of it, sort of, because it's a pressure.
But that's where you do need to surround yourself with other people as well that may even just take little bits of it. As you say, I mean, I bet you felt quite invigorated actually going around the record plant and just seeing like other people handle as much as actually seeing this process, which is probably quite amazing anyway. Probably just seeing that part being taken out of your hands and like being dealt with so well and so professionally, and knowing that someone else has got that is just, that's kind of invigorating, isn't it?
Oh, totally, yeah. And I think like just the end of the week was approaching and my album was coming out on the Friday, I just started to feel like, oh well, the hard part in a sense is done. Like obviously promoting it and all that stuff is just as much work as making it in a way. But I kind of felt that started to gradually feel that sense of relief and allowing myself to feel that wee bit of accomplishment as well, because a lot of times we don't celebrate ourselves the way, or we don't let ourselves celebrate those milestones or moments.
That's what I was going to ask. I remember someone saying to me years ago, and I wondered from what you said at the beginning, someone said to me years ago, how do you, I think it was two things. How do you reward yourself? And I think they were asking about what goals I had. And I said, well, I don't really have any. I kind of just keep going with it and it. And as for rewarding myself, I probably, as you said, you kind of do it and then go, all right, almost as if the other stuff hadn't happened. And I wonder sometimes if it's personality type, or is that something we all, go through? Because I would say to other people, wow, you must be really, really proud of yourself. And I'm an absolute hypocrite for saying that, because I'll go, yeah, well, I could have done this better, or I could have done that better.
Have you rewarded yourself? That's what we're trying to find out here. Have you done that, Charlotte, or can we do it with you now? I mean, what?
Yeah, I guess I've tried to. I think like I've been doing this for quite a while, and I've tried to have a good balance of things. But like you say, sometimes it's hard to switch off from all the things you need to do. But like there's lots of things in the past where opportunities or even bigger gigs or just any experiences that I've had that I never fully enjoyed because I was too stressed out or worried about it. And I had a lot of regret about that. So I've tried to really work hard on being able to enjoy things as they're happening. So like those gigs and playing in the in-stores at the record stores at the weekend, I was able to actually enjoy it as it was happening. And for me, that was something that I couldn't do for a while, because I would be thinking about the other things, or worried or stressed out about, oh, we've got to still do this and I've got to do that. And so it was, for me, that was a real I felt very, I guess, proud to be able to have I've enjoyed that and I'm not absolutely stressed.
Well, listen, we're gonna celebrate with you right at this moment, okay? Whilst we play a little clip from the album, and then we'll come back.
When it rains, look for rainbows.
Love that. Absolutely love that. Where is that beach, by the way? I want to go there now.
I know there's a couple of different beaches in there. The one with the dancers is Broughty Ferry Beach, which is just near Dundee, just in Dundee pretty much. And the other one that I'm at is Lunan Bay, which is just near Montrose in Scotland. It's an absolutely stunning beach. It's so lovely.
When was that filmed? When was that done?
Oh, the week before the song came out.
They put it in with AI afterwards, did they?
I've been making all the videos myself. So about maybe a year or so ago, I just got a decent enough but not a really expensive camera, one that sort of does the job, and then just been making all the videos myself and learning how to video edit as well, because the cost of I've done some music videos where it's been big crews and all that, and that is amazing, but I don't have that budget. So I've been making all the videos myself, which has been I've really enjoyed it, actually, to be fair. And it's a nice. It's good to find, I don't know, another creative outlet. For a while, it was just solely music. So it's nice to find something else. And then that's meant with the record label as well. I've been making and editing music videos for the artists on the label too. So it's been good to do that, but it just sometimes means it's quite close to the that the videos are actually created. I'm editing it the night before, but
left on the edge.
yeah.
I quite like that though. I quite like that. It's quite fun though. It being right at the last minute.
No, it's all to do with, we've got to get this right. It's to do with, if you do things too much in advance, it just means that if there's any changes, it's going to be a bigger about people.
Exactly. And sometimes like the best ideas don't come to you till it's like that very last moment. But I think even like I noticed that when I was when I worked with Sony, I saw that like things happened quite last minute, or like dates where there wasn't I don't know, it made me realise nobody ever really knows what's the right time to do things or what's the right order or process. It's sort of a wee bit of trial and error, and that gave me a bit of, I guess, confidence going into my own stuff and the label stuff, that it's like, well, let's just try some stuff out and see what happens.
Yeah,
I was
going to say, I want to put up this photo as well, because look, there we are. That's you in your element there. Where was that?
That was at a festival called Otherlands in Scotland a couple of years ago, I think.
Yeah. Is playing live, other than writing, is playing live your happy place? Are you? How do you feel about live work?
Yeah, I really enjoy it. I think I've performed in quite a few different variations, I guess, over the years. So when I started out, I was just solo acoustic, and then that's what I've been doing recently is back to that, and I've really enjoyed it. But I've also played full band with a few different variations over the years, and I really enjoy both. I think sometimes a lot of the stresses would come from when you've obviously got to make sure that the band members are paid and all the sound engineers are paid and everybody's got what they need to get. So that would bring quite a lot of stresses to the gigs. So I do quite enjoy sometimes just turning up with my guitar and singing. Yeah. I do love performing. Like the feeling, the buzz you get, like it's very hard to recreate that. So yeah, I do absolutely love it. And I think when we had that very long period of time where there was no gigs and all of that, I did start to question, I don't know if I do love performing as much as I thought I did and all that. But then when I came back to it, I was like, no, absolutely not. This is what I love doing, just as much as writing or the recording, producing process too. It's
nice to have that variety, isn't it? In terms of what you do. I mean, it's great actually that you say as well, now you're picking up the video skills, etc. as well. And even if you go back to, hiring people in on a video, you've gotten probably more by getting hands on. You've probably got a bit more of an idea about exactly what you want.
Yeah.
And that's all useful stuff. You ever thought about working with students in terms of film? Because that going, sort of in the education way as well, it strikes me that, that's one of the areas where younger people in the industry perhaps need to go, is that there's a wealth of experience and expertise coming out of universities, people that are making film, people that are doing making great costumes or making great makeup, and all of this sort of thing. And actually all of these people need experience, and I just think we need to get those people together a bit more sometimes.
Definitely. Yeah, I think the sort of connecting the dots a bit. And the two dancers actually in that music video, they just graduated from a dance school in Dundee as well. So that was really nice to get them. They're just sort of starting their career and going into the world of being a freelance dancer and stuff. So it was really nice to be able to be able to make that video with them. And then now if there's anything that I don't know I see that comes up, I can share that with them as well. And Tom as well, actually, who shot the artwork, he's studying at the moment as well. So yeah, I definitely try and like, because I think you just, I know myself that when you're young and sometimes you just sort of get overlooked, or if you don't have the experience, it's always like you don't have the experience but you can't get the experience to get the experience, so it's just like, where do you begin then? So yeah, I always try as much as I can to help
I
out.
love hearing about when people do, well, again, we talk about this quite a lot, but it's easy for people to forget what it's like when you've made it. And it's, you know, and I always try whenever I can to try and, I just did it earlier on, actually, somebody that's been on here that I know, and I know that they're starting out, they're actually older than me, they're new to doing what they do, but relatively new, and I've seen where something can add up, or link up, so I've linked this person up with lots of people, and he's so appreciative, and I said, but surely that's what we should be doing. If I know somebody and that person can help somebody else. And actually, off the back of it, we had a conversation, or I had a conversation with someone, and she said, oh, I want to keep in contact with you because of what she does now. And I just think people are very, very, quite often, back to that competitiveness.
Yeah.
Sort of quite tunnel vision. They want to get here, they want to get there, so we're going to go straight down this way and not. And actually, you miss the. And actually, you know, Graham gave me a go, and that of me sort of saying about my situation and how I'd sort of been stuck for quite a while, and actually, you know, we ended up talking, and he offered to help me, and actually off the back of it, you know, we're doing loads of things. But had he not reached out like that, we probably wouldn't have done, and he might not be doing some of the things that we're going to do now. So people just get quite anchored with it because they're so, as you said, it's mine.
Yeah.
And then, as you say, there's so much to go around.
Oh, definitely. I've had lots of experiences in the past where, I don't know, I've known somebody that's got a contact, something else that could be quite useful, and people just don't reply, or they don't. And that just baffles me. I'm just like, I can understand things to a certain extent, but I just think, yeah, like I don't know. I just, if I was to ever become super successful, and I don't know, in a place, I would want to know that I'd got there in a good way, and I'd been kind along the way, and I hadn't been, you know what I mean?
That's what makes you. That's the thing, and that will come out in what you do. And
I also think it's really important when you do make it, which you will, of course. I mean, you're going to, you know,
amazing music,
be a superstar. But the most important thing is where however far you get, is make sure that really close to you, you surround yourself with people with the exact same values as you. If you want to be that kind of person that shares and whatever, etc. Of course, you know, it's difficult when you get that famous and everybody wants a piece of you, etc. Some people need to protect you, but at the same time, I've seen too much management, especially in the music business, where they then go, it's more about their ego as well. So they then kind of shut the artist off from doing what they really want to do, because, you know, they feel like they've got to protect their ego first. And I think that's problematic.
Quite damaging then, isn't it? That's quite damaging, as you say, for those values, because that's what people see, isn't it? If people see that person doesn't want to speak, that's what they're seeing. And if that's not what your values are, then
I think when it comes to, you know, picking PR people or you know, management people, when you get to that kind of level, it's really, really important to go, right, you know, I will want to give back. This is part of me.
Yeah, I know. I think as well, like, yeah, I think it's something that actually, I feel like I've spoken about it loads, but something that also came out of the pandemic was I realised that, I guess, I would spend the whole time sort of just focused on music mostly before that, but then I got into a lot of like music practitioner stuff and running workshops and all of that, and then that's now a big part of my life as well. So as well as doing my own music, I'll work in schools and do songwriting workshops or teach guitar and all that stuff. And I think it's like that was one of my goals that I'd sort of set myself, was I wanted to be sort of covering all of that basis, and then with the record label too, because I think it's stuff that I enjoy doing, but it's also just not I don't feel like it's healthy to be so solely focused on your own. I don't know.
Well,
stuff.
you know what, Charlotte, when you decide that you want to turn one of those courses into an accredited qualification, you need to speak to Marion.
There we go.
There
we
you go.
are.
And
I wonder if for you it's funny because I mean obviously my son's only 16 and he was exhausted the other day after he'd done band practice and then was teaching. He said I couldn't possibly do anything else, and I was like, really? But it was really sweet though because he'd wanted to get a job and he's just literally finished school, and we talked about what he was going to do and stuff, and then he was teaching me and I'm atrocious, really bad. And I watched him and he was developing ways to try and teach me. And then I said to him, my neighbour said he wants teaching, he's in his 70s. And then I said, why don't we ask if there's any kids that are off for the summer that like the parents can keep them going. So he said, okay. Bearing in mind he was really, really shy once upon a time, fairly shy now. And so anyway, this lad came round, he was only 7, and Samuel went, he just wants to learn Metallica songs. My friend see Metallica in Poland. So anyway, they were going to do an introduction, but they stayed for the whole hour. He came in to me and he said, the mum said to me, is it this amount of money? And Samuel said, I didn't know what to say, so I said yes, and she gave me the money. And he went like this, and then he said to me, it's not even work and I'm being paid. And I went, oh, what happens when you do something you love? And I was like, then straight on he was saying he put the seat the right height, and he said I've got to write down what they've done each lesson. And he was working out all this stuff, and for a young person that struggled at school, it just showed how when you really are motivated to do something and you're not being forced into doing all the other stuff you don't want to do. Some of his friends want to go and do A-levels, and I said to them, what do you want to do afterwards? They said, I don't know. Whereas Samuel knows he wants to do music, and that's it.
Yeah.
So how funny it is but how sad that he said, I'm really thick. And I said, look, A, you're not, and B, the world needs musicians, they need artists, they need sports people, they need all sorts. And I just thought how interesting it was that out of all his friends he probably knows more than anything what he wants to do.
Totally, no, I totally get that. And I think I was similar at school in a sense of like I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and there's a lot, and even more so now probably than when I was at school, so much pressure on to know what you want to do from a really young age. Yeah, and to know I left school when I was about 17, and I went to study music business, and that really helped me because I didn't know anything about the music business, music industry. Like I didn't have any connection into that. Like at that point it was me, and my mum would help me get to the gigs physically and help me communicate with people at the gigs, but I didn't know anything so about the industry or whatever. So but yeah, I totally get that. And I think as well, if you find something that you love and is your passion, then if you've got that right support around you, then it's like you can give it a go.
He's going to do music production.
Oh, brilliant.
Is it important? Oh no, it's still good. Music production. I think he'll do all like sound stuff and that kind of stuff, because he said in terms of the actual playing and moving his career on, he's doing that anyway. So he's not really, I say, too concerned about that. Yeah, for me, it's been interesting sort of watch, because I have no idea. I mean, I've got one child that loves boxing. I was a gymnast. So one's doing boxing and the other one's a rock musician, and I'm like, I don't quite know, but I absolutely love it because he literally will just spend his time, spend his time doing that. And he did actually, when he was choosing his options, he said, I've got to think about what to do here. He said, because I've got to balance up like the money and earning potential with what I love. And I thought, gosh, what a young age. I mean, really young age though, for young people to have to decide on that. I mean, I look back and about 100 years and I think, do I remember? And it's funny because nowadays there's more opportunities. And I spoke to somebody some years ago that was young, and she was at grammar school and under pressure. And I said, you know what? I said, there's always a chance to do anything, whichever way you want to go at it. I failed my A-levels and I'm a teacher now. I just feel sad that a lot of that comes from the teachers having to put pressure on. But actually, I think you end up where you should be at the time you should be doing what you should be. I mean, I'm sort of much older now, when I thought the other day, maybe I should be further ahead. And I think, well, no, maybe now is the perfect time.
Even if that time is when you're 52.
Exactly.
Like that.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think, just picking up on that, I just want to say that, you know, I think that's why we're seeing that a lot these days. And I think the whole COVID period really made people kind of rewire with regards to that, which is that I think a lot of my generation went through life being told this is what you have got to do.
What you want to be when you're older. That's what
and I think we still tell youngsters that, what, you know, or ask that question, what do you want to be when you're older? Do you really know what you want to do? Make sure you make all the right choices.
You've got to measure up to what your parents want.
Yes, but then that was it. I mean, then, you know, along the line, you were told sort of like, actually, I don't want you doing that. I don't want you doing that. And I think that is why suddenly, when the world stopped and people had to rethink, and they had to you know, a lot of people thought, sod it, that's what I've always wanted to do, and I'm gonna do it now, you know. And
if creative ways, I know that as a parent, when I did used to worry about with Samuel, because he would always be at the back of things, and all the other mums were like, oh, mine's doing this and that, and I one day just went, stop it, like, just let him be what he wants to be. And ironically now, you know, he plays drums and he's on guitar and he's like, I'm at the front, you know, and he loves it. And so it was just sort of taking that step back and just having faith in that he'll just be him, and you can't force him to be anything other than, you know, who he wants to be. And actually, in terms of earning money, as I laughed to him the other day, and I said, you've always got a way to earn money now.
Yeah.
Always have.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think there's people I know that, or people that maybe when I was at high school and they went on to study at university, but then they hated it and they went to do something else, or they finished uni and still can't find a job. I guess it's like, and I would have those same things of, oh God, should I have done that, or tried to have done that, or even if I could, should I have tried to? And then you kind of, well, everyone's on their own path at different times, aren't they? And I think, like you say, that one of the biggest things is having that support around you. And I think I was lucky that I had that support around me to say, to give it a go and stuff.
And your own motivation. If you're not motivated, then I look back to when I was younger, and it wasn't my parents doing it, was just the thing. Everything I did, and I look back at about my diagnosis and stuff, I just felt like I just existed and did. I didn't really, the only thing I had passion for was my gymnastics. But other than that, I didn't really, and I do think that's where I didn't necessarily, I did a psychology degree and I was a bit like me over it. And it's only now that my psychology comes out in everything I do. And because I love it now, because it's got purpose. So it must be, I sound old though, ever so hard for young people, even though I don't, and Graham, you'd be the same. I wasn't really conscious of just how I wasn't really invested in it all. I was just doing what was expected, and I did well in my GCSEs, and it was like, oh, what are you going to do now? And I was like, I don't know.
I don't know. I was ruthlessly ambitious, but I was told no all of the time. I was told no all of the time. You know, I got a record contract when I was 21, Charlotte, and I was told no by my parents. You know, I was just, the no word came before that. You know, teachers at school said, no, you can't be this. No, you can't be that. No, you know, it was kind of no. No matter how much I wanted it, people were saying no. And I just think, well, that's partly why I do this now, is because I want to tell people out there, the answer is yes, you can do that. And that's what I want.
Also, like you're very good at finding, like for me, I didn't even know. I literally didn't know, because I think I just was a bit invisible, really. And unless you were one of the most intelligent ones or the most loudest, And so like now we have conversations about things, and then you'll go, oh, you could do this, and I'll go, can I? As in, like, how am I going to move that forwards? And then you'll give me that sort of, I don't know, that permission. That you'll say, well, actually, I can see that you can do this, and I'm like, oh, all right, okay, I'll give that a go then.
Everybody needs permission. Everybody needs somebody to say to them, "You can do this." Everybody needs them.
Yeah.
Listen, Charlotte, it's been tremendous having you here. We could talk all day, but we won't because you're busy and you know you need to get off. But what we want to do is just remind people one more time that.
Charlotte, which is your favourite song? Just quickly.
Oh,
the
yeah.
album. Let me look at the track list. Probably. It is a tricky one, but the first song that I wrote for the album was Dead End Dreamers. So I guess that one, it sort of started the process of then writing all these other songs. So I think that one is probably one of my faves.
There you go. So folks, this is the album Self-Help and Fictional Doubts. Go buy it now. You can order it in lots of lovely formats. If you really must, you can stream it on the streaming platforms. But really, you want it in one of these physical formats so that you can play it in the, when the power cuts happen on the other things, or when the Wi-Fi, when the Wi-Fi breaks, you can still do it. And it's important to actually support artists as well, as I've always said, by actually physically buying stuff so that they can continue to make music. Otherwise, the 2 pence pieces just do not add up. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for wearing pink as well. Thank you for wearing pink.
Oh, of course. Always.
Brilliant. We'll be back again, same time, same place next week with another one, and I promise I won't freeze on screen then. Okay. Until next week. Yeah, absolutely.